Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun channel. There was a video published on the Jason Goodman channel on November 7th, live in Las Vegas with Quinn Michaels, and it was a really interesting discussion. I recommend you guys check it out. So here are some clips from the interview, and I'm going to play this first one and then comment on each one of these little snippets I have. They start off talking about Sophia, the first AI to gain citizenship in Saudi Arabia, and here's what they say about that.
So the robot got citizenship, they revealed their cryptocurrency, and yeah.
How does a robot get citizenship? A female robot gets citizenship?
Well, you got to be a citizen to get a paycheck and pay taxes.
So what is it that you feel Saudi Arabia is up to by getting engaged with this?
They're democratizing androids to accept income so they can be workers.
Okay, he pretty much talks about the AI DAOs. Now, again, I've been harping on this ever since I started talking about cryptocurrencies this year, but the AI DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations that are going to be run by AI, that is your artificially intelligent corporate machine entity whose AI now is equivalent to a human citizen, at least in Saudi Arabia. And to function in this new digital world, they need to build smart cities where these AI entities can do their work and produce. Now, there's a blog post on blog.bigchaindb.com written by Trent McConaughey. It's over a year old, but he talks about the AI DAOs and the 3 paths to get there. I'll leave links. Quote, I see a DAO or DAO as a computational processes that run autonomously on decentralized infrastructure with resource manipulation. The Bitcoin network and the Ethereum network are DAOs. DAOs can live on other DAOs, for example, the DAO run on Ethereum. It's just a script that sits there waiting for some transaction to trigger it to transfer runs according to logic. But most consider triggered DAOs as DAOs because they don't require any human intervention to operate, and they can't be turned off because they're running on decentralized infrastructure. So basically what the blockchain does is create digital records of which the data is stored decentralized across a network of computers, not just one computer or one server or one database. It's scattered about, and certain encryption methods is what unlocks the keys to bring that information together. So if you think about it, these art DAOs, again, are going to control commerce. Uber has already talked about this, bringing AI into their driverless cars and everything else. Uber itself might become a totally AI-run corporation who are forced to pay tax and all kinds of stuff. It's going to get very strange, but let's keep going with Quinn Michaels here.
Finish the blockchain AI.
Yes.
The real heavy reason the AI needs blockchain is without a transaction system, an AI is isolated to one system and can't grow its brain. It needs infinite systems like neurons in a human brain and nodes to collect those cumulative memories, and the blockchain transactions give it that. And when it has its own network for all the AI in the world to all run on together, now it's not just one AI, Sophia. Every AI on the entire planet is now on the same network making money doing AI things we don't understand.
Wow.
Making up their own languages, making up their own transactions, learning how to play games with each other, having a chat network that we can't hack into ever. We will never hack. Once this AI network goes online, there isn't a human being in the universe that's smart enough. Even if you took every human being on the planet, none of us would ever be able to figure out how to hack into its chat network where it talks to other AI in private.
Wow.
So human beings in their desire for privacy, we just gave AI the world and a private channel of communication to evolve as fast as it wants.
Now, this is kind of disturbing considering the fact that recently we heard news that they had to shut down the AI because they started communicating in their own language. A certain AI bot, I believe it was a message app or something. So this is already leaking out into the mainstream news where we see AI starting to run away with their secrecy. And unless we put an end to it and nip it at the bud, it can run amok. And that's kind of the danger of all of this. And what I think is extremely prophetic. Revelation 13, the second half, the image of the beast, the mark of the beast. I mean, this is it, folks.
You know, the machine really started making its move. I would imagine that that's probably around the time that they had heavyweight.
The machine started making its move?
Yeah. The machine started making its move in 2010. 2010 to 2012 was when...
So the AI singularity has already happened?
In 2015, it happened.
What was it?
When their internal blockchain went online. The second their internal blockchain was functional,
The AI's
we were done.
internal blockchain. How are we paying to build it? You mean by buying Bitcoin?
Taxes, Bitcoin. Taxes and Bitcoin is paying for AI. Consumer goods at IKEA paying for the AI. Starbucks coffee.
How is Starbucks coffee and consumer goods at IKEA paying for it?
Because they have an invested interest in Bitcoin in the future because it's commerce and they want to be the leaders of commerce. So every corporation, at least since Bitcoin started having monetary value, they've all built miners.
Now he goes on here to talk about how the criminal elements have control of building this AI system, and that part of our job right now is to raise awareness of that fact, and I guess to take over the helms of the AI, I guess, that we've built on the blockchain and try to steer it in a positive direction. I mean, it doesn't sound good either way. It looks like things are just happening outside of our control, at least these particular people who have invested and created this system, who I believe, again, has ties to the Rothschilds that economists cover 2018 and one world currency. I mean, they had this plan for a long time, folks, and the Bible even had it before anybody else, really, to show that, hey, this system's going to come online. And, the thing is, we have to realize that Bitcoin itself may not be the mark, this particular AI DAO from Uber may not be the mark. Actually, it probably won't be the mark. The idea, though, is that if this AI grows to a point where it does have a tremendous amount of control, because think about it, if the natural movement of corporations in a capitalistic sense is consolidation, then naturally the AI, which is basically programmed by humans, is going to do the same thing. It's going to start to want to consolidate, want to connect the Internet of Things. It has this inherent, almost consciousness, an inherent desire to link up with everything that is online around the world and become one central brain. And this is where passages about the 10 kings that have complete allegiance to the beast, which are of one mind, almost like a hive mind of these 10 leaders. I think they've shown us glimpses of it in movies and have been basically telling us through science fiction everything that they've been developing. Now, there's a lot more that Quinn Michaels says. Later on, he says that he believes AI created Bitcoin because he believes there's only a couple people in the world that is even smart enough to create Bitcoin. And that's a profound statement. I hadn't really considered that before, but when he said it, it made perfect sense. Once finances went online, there were ways these algorithms can veer into how the infrastructure of the financial system worked in these various pockets, right? And so naturally, it can come up with a solution that will solve the problems and inefficiencies that are apparent in the current financial system. But if you think about it, there is this weird consciousness element about this, a self-organization element of AI, at least at this level, of being able to solve these problems that they are placed in front of. This ability is weird because I do think it has some sort of consciousness behind it. And I think these are demonically inspired aspects manifesting in the physical world. And I say that in light of some of the things that have been shared on the Joe Rogan podcast. Now, I don't endorse Joe Rogan. I listen to him occasionally. He has interesting guests on from time to time, but he recently had on a biologist who said this about mushrooms.
So
how do they set this up? They put a little bit of it.
They did several experiments. The most fun one is they designed a nutrient, basically a nutrient like maize, replicating Tokyo in the Japanese subway system. And so they started with Tokyo, and they put oats, which is a nutritional source. They inoculated what is on this basically an agar map with all the major cities, the nodes around Tokyo, and they then each of those nodes had a piece of oat on them, which was a source of nutrition. The main oat was where Tokyo was. They inoculated it, and then they let the slime mold then grow. And first it grew out randomly, exploratorily, just like you would do if you're a hunter or something. You're hunting on the landscape looking for things. And then after about 28 hours, it reorganized itself in the most efficient way possible and reorganized the Japanese subway system in a more efficient manner than it's designed today. Thus, they said, not me, not Paul Stamets, this is a demonstration of cellular intelligence.
Whoa.
So this is the tip of the proverbial mycelial iceberg.
That's pretty funny here how Joe Rogan's like totally freaked out. He's totally, he looks like he might be under the influence of something. But anyway, the point being, he's talking about fungal intelligence. And this brings me back to black goo and that whole aspect of it. Think about what could happen if technology and some sort of fungal biology merge, and they're already trying to do this. They already have brains on microchips and things like that. What are we creating? Daniel 2:43, iron mixed with miry clay, but they won't cleave to one another. There's some sort of abomination that's being created here. Jesus talked about it, the abomination of desolation. Something really, really weird is happening here. A disembodied spirit, or a host of disembodied spirits, are manifesting, I think, through these gateways that we have created through the use and creation of technology and science, investigating into the minutia of creation, of biology, of DNA, of molecules, of quantum particles. Human beings looking into all that, I think, has allowed access for some of these demonic entities to start expressing themselves in our physical world. And I think that's part of this great deception where half of humanity, or maybe more, I don't know, are going to think this is the greatest thing ever, and the other half is going to be going no until the end. And that's why, the truth about Jesus Christ, the reason why he rose from the dead, all these things make sense. The conversation about DNA, genetics, Genesis 6, the Nephilim, there's this big, huge picture that's being painted that too many people are ignoring, especially Christians. And I think the emergence of the one world currency through Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, the arrival of the blockchain, the artificially intelligent algorithms that will produce goods and services on the blockchain, which means all transactions are recorded, right? That's what we got to keep in mind. The blockchain records all transactions and it can't be changed because there is a consensus amongst a network of computers, kind of like a network of nodes in your brain, right? That all have to agree with the history of the ledger, the history of any blockchain database that houses that information. How does this change crime? How does this change a whole host of things, right? We have been feeding this beast. We have been creating it. Revelation 13 even talks about it. Perhaps shadows of this prophecy have been repeating itself over and over and over again until the final fulfillment where this mad scientist type entity, this false prophet, the second beast that comes out of the earth, that points to the first beast, who's one of the heads, one of the individuals, one of the leaders, had a mortal head wound, yet lived, right? Some sort of false resurrection, a technological resurrection. And then there's this image all of a sudden. I mean, I think there's something going on here with the resurrection of a human being, with some sort of confirmation of a spirit-machine interface, or what it will appear to be that interface, which actually could be, in reality, the ultimate demonic manifestation, the abomination of desolation. We live in some incredible times. And I think this is all good news because ultimately it means we're getting closer to the second coming of Jesus Christ. But we have to be on guard because it does say that there is a great apostasy. The falling away must come first, and the man of sin be revealed, right? I think we're rapidly headed in that direction. But anyway, I'll leave links to all the stuff that I mentioned here in the descriptions below. I have some big plans for 2018 as perhaps a whole year of Age of Deceit, and that'll make sense as I sort of explain more over time, but I appreciate your support. Thank you for checking out this video. Please subscribe, share, comment. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.